Hi, I'm Aden Forshaw from That API Company, and here's my talk that I did at API Days Australia 2024 called Curiosity and the Cat API. So it's about the catapi.com, which is very, very well-known public API out there on the web. So it started in 2012. So I started it when I had a company in London, and I was starting a big video tech company, and we needed to invent some tech to help scaling. Yeah, we were really struggling with how to scale, and so what better way to test some tech about scaling than to create an API that people could come take away and get huge amounts of scale. And what does the internet love? It loves cats. So really, it was started to test some tech internally, and also to help test some junior engineers that I was hiring at the time. Yeah, back then there weren't that many good public APIs. That sort of Last.fm and a few things like that. I ended up creating the catapi.com really for those two purposes. And really, it started off as a way to let people just come upload a photo of their cat, um, favorite it, vote on it, share it, all that kind of stuff. And this here is the first image that was ever uploaded by me. This is my neighbour's cat, little tubby fellow who lived a long and happy life. And the cat API has evolved to have facts and jokes and breed information. And that breed information data set is really the core of it now. That's the thing that people come, take away, really want, and has enabled us to drive and push on with the enterprise version of it. At one point, because that company that I was starting was getting to scale, I had no attention for this. I had no time, so I had to stop signups. But people came along, they fuzzed the API, they fuzzed how to find the sign up MPI endpoint, and just started signing up themselves. So it just sort of kind of had that organic growth once people knew where to look, and it was SEO searchable. It really just went quite fast. So here's the growth over time. So you can see, as I first made it in 2012, it kind of kicked along, a bit of growth here and there as that kind of people came organically and found it. But the growth really started to accelerate once I leaned in and really applied some core lessons, started experimenting with it, and really defined what that North Star metric was that I was trying to achieve with this thing. So far, present day, the thing does billions of ad requests. Absolutely, one of the biggest public APIs out there that isn't by one of the big, Fetters, Facebooks, all those kind of Amazons of the world. It's very, very big. Current 120,000 signups, and that's just compoundingly growing month on month. Big opt-in email list and huge community of users. And that community is really the thing that enables it to grow as something that really has a small amount of my attention and my team's attention every month, like a minute amount of attention we can give it. But it grows because of the compounding community and the lessons that we've applied to this API. We build a lot of APIs for different clients and ourselves, and we use all of these lessons there to help them get growth and to make them essentially make profitable APIs, programs that can act as real products and revenue drivers for their company. So the thing can also scale hugely in an average day. So baseline is very, very large for a normal API. Nowadays is about 500,000 ad requests on a very, very quiet day. But can easily scale to 50 million or more API requests on a very active day if something goes viral or if a couple of things go viral. Over Christmas, we get a lot of people taking time off and building things, and they all seem to go viral. The main users of the catapi.com are a lot of classrooms. There's a lot of people making boot camps to teach the next wave of developers, really interesting things like teaching refugees to code, a lot of developer skill interviews. We get a lot of lovely emails inbound going, hey, the KPI helped me make something which I was able to get a job with and demonstrate my skills, or I used it in a job interview and was able to demonstrate making an app really quickly. Thanks for making it. So those are all really, really lovely. People making really interesting projects of the weekend, just hacking something together. And recently we've done a premium program for enterprises that has become quite popular as well, and enabled the thing to be self-funding in all of its parts of what makes an API really, really useful, not just the infrastructure. That's a tiny bit, and that's a thing that we developers, myself included, always focus on. But nowadays, APIs are a product. You've got to have not just the infrastructure, it's a tiny part of the cost. You've got to have the community, you've got to have, how do you get out there? How do you sort of drive awareness, and how do you make your data sets continue to be unique and evolve over time? Requires investment rather than just what we all want to do, the API dream that all developers want to do, which is get a data set, wrap it in an API, stick a Stripe subscription button on it, have a weekend of time, and then profit and go off on holiday and go back to your day job. That dream doesn't exist. I hate to burst your bubble. It can exist, but you have to treat it like a product, and you have to continually invest in it, and you have to have a core data set which is really unique and you care about, and you care about continuing to evolve over time. So the things that we found that these weekend hack projects don't work, and this is ones that we made ourselves and ones that we've seen clients do with large amounts of investment, and us have to come in and help turn it around, is they don't reply to support requests fast enough. So people come, they try the thing, sniff around it, try a couple of API requests, have some And so that not replying to support requests fast enough, people just leave. They don't come back. Especially if a developer's got a tiny amount of time, they want to get results really quickly. So that's really important to reply fast to inbound requests. Got to keep that data set updated. Got to have, that's your first party nowadays. Everything else is sort of secondary to that unique first party data set. It's got to be evolving, and that's where a lot of your marketing material again can come from. The one thing that nobody will do, the one thing I'll always advise that nobody will do, and everybody will nod their head and think, yeah, that's what I'll do, is make better documentation. We developers hate writing documentation. I've hired hundreds of developers in my career, and I've interviewed thousands, and not a single one, myself included, likes writing documentation. You've got to review the analytics. Like, a lot of people stick analytics into API, they don't turn it into insights, and they never look at it. They're just like, okay, cool, it's there. But they never do anything with it. That community is a big thing. That's something we'll touch on again, and keep coming back to community, building that around it, self-supporting, hugely valuable. We used to use Discourse, the forum software, still up. Nobody posts to it anymore. It was really popular, but people have just gotten away from posting to forums, anything outside of Reddit. Nowadays, Discord is the one that we use. It just enables a much more vibrant community over and above Teams and Slack. The integrations you could do, and the kind of different roles you can have to make people incentivized to self-support other users, hugely valuable. Massive boon for us. Misuse and obviously not wanting to challenge that is a big one. Just wanting to not be troubled by their APIs and concentrate on the core product, and then not wanting to pay for the scale, right? At some point you've got to look past the free credits you get from GCP or Azure or AWS and actually be willing to invest in the thing to stay up. So for us, the core ways that we see successful APIs and we advise our clients is own that relationship with users. Marketplaces, discovery on them is dreadful. GitHub, all these kind of places. Now, those marketplaces, they don't equal scale. Even the Azure ones or the big ones, AWS, GCP, those marketplaces are great for your existing users who just want a channel where they can push spend through, where they've already got internal approval, but the discovery on them is very, very poor. Even something like Zapier, the marketplace there is just swamped nowadays. So discovery is entirely secondary to taking your users there if you want to and make it easier for them to buy your API. Talked about the data sets. The documentation is really to be digested by the ChatGPTs of the world nowadays. Make great documentation, it'll be easy to digested, and these LLM models, in the case of the Get API, recommend that API to go and sign up to. If you go to ChatGPT and you go, hey, maybe an app that shows cat pictures from the web, it'll go, cool, go to catapi.com, sign up for an API key, and here's some code, stick your API key in that. And that's the value of good documentation. It recommends the perceived best solution as described by as many websites as you can get your API onto, and sort of code samples out there. So those code samples, hugely valuable because that's what these models draw from. So it's kind of the modern day SEO. We see quite a few signups now from these LLMs as a redirect, and that proactive support. Actually getting out there, seeing users that are having issues, proactively offering them code samples rather than just relying on them to solve all the problems themselves. So the misuse that the Cat API faces, hey, you have a public endpoint, people upload garbage to it, all sorts of awful things. We use AWS Recognition and GCP Vision. Vision is probably the better of the two for our use case, and anything that's even a tiny bit not safe for work is just instantly deleted. Nobody looks at that stuff, so instantly goes out the door. For us, it's got to be safe enough to use in classroom, so we just layer in that technology to make sure there's no humans or text or anything like that in there that could be subjective. The main problem nowadays is just LLM generated images, AI generated images of weird cats that don't exist. So spotting them is the new issue nowadays, and adding filters rather than sort of anything not safe for work. Hackers, anything with distribution is going to get Russian IP addresses trying to get in there and do awful things to it. So you've got to have great security. For us, LLMs companies just out there scraping every API that we have, irrespective of what you put in your terms and conditions or sign up flow. Every minute of every day, our APIs are just getting scraped now if they've got unique data sets. So this pre-information, people just keep trying to scrape it. It's great to be the authority, but these companies will just come and take any data you have if you make it easy for them. So protecting yourself from that is a key consideration. So costs, hey, all developers know how to or should know how to optimize their application for cost. For us, going GCP, Cloud Run, and Kubernetes was a huge cost saving, enable us to sort of scale up and down with those huge swings I talked about earlier. And then using CDNs like Cloudflare to really offset the cost of image serving has been really, really useful. One thing I would say about the pricing plans is $10 a month or anything targeting weekend hackers. You're never going to make any money. The touch on those accounts is huge because they only want to use it for 1 month, 2 months, and then churn. And then a lot of them ask for a refund for whatever reason. Going, oh yeah, no, I was only use it for a month or whatever. Can you refund it? That $10 in terms of your time in managing that or your staff's time managing that just isn't worth it. So if you're going to go with target weekend hackers, think again in terms of the pricing, or try and offer them a package that works for both of you. So in our case, weekend hackers come, they put a bit of code out there in the world generally because they're trying to make something interesting, incentivize them to do that, and give them the plan for free because it's just going to cost you money in fees and time to go through Stripe and refund all this stuff. So for us, one of the big things was authentication. So API keys, managing hundreds of thousands of API keys, people are always committing to them to GitHub, and they're always getting pinged as issues, and people are always rotating them. So we wrapped up all of those issues as a separate company. TheAuthAPI.com, where we took all of that API key management, wrapped it up, and now all of our APIs use that. And so we're able to wrap up all those security elements, the rotating, the accidentally, submitting your key to a repo and needing that quarantined, all of that stuff as a separate company, as a separate service. And that for us took a big weight off and a big touch on the accounts off our shoulders. So I would definitely, if you have an API that you have some bottlenecks like that, I would just offload it. You don't have to use our product, you use any product you like, but just that mindset of offloading everything that's not core, so you can focus on your core, is definitely one that I would lean into. So we wrapped up all these lessons and launched a sister API to the Cat API, just to prove that those lessons were useful. And we've got 100 more lessons that are not mentioned here, but the core lessons that I've gone through, the graph has gone up to the right and it's gone up sharper to the right than the Cat API. So we're pretty confident in all of the lessons that we've learned. We've seen this graph be repeated on all of the clients we've done these same things for. So we now get faster growth by really driving all the community awareness and getting our community to create a lot of code samples. We build a lot of code samples for our clients, and that gets the same results. And in this case, really defining that North Star metric as not just users coming, signing up, but actually users coming, not just time to hello world, because that's a very sort of lazy metric as well. It's that time to get value from the API. It's that time to have made enough API requests that you can say, this person has come, gotten value, built the thing they want to, and is now, using that app and that API in production. That's where we really start to measure. So our key advice, key cycle for any public API out there that users can come, sign up to, put in their credit card details if needed, and then just keep using more and more of, is to define a success metric. And I talked about that one where we look at the API requests that a sign up has made. Okay, the sign up, they do this, they do that, they push some data in, and then we start to see some usage. That's really our North Star metric and a key metric we track. Improving your own documentation is, again, the thing that I will say that nobody will do, everybody will nod along to, but that has a huge impact. And that's something that we even I saying that is not great at. We can always be better at, which is improving your API documentation and your quick start guides. Self-supporting community, Discord worked for us. I'd advise that if you're doing a public API. If it's a SaaS one that you're targeting niche enterprises, sure, maybe Teams, maybe Slack, but some kind of enterprise community that people could come, get self-support, and you can incentivize that self-supporting. Hugely valuable. Then you don't have to have that follow the sun support of developers always in there. Proactive first line support. Every developer thinks, oh yeah, I can answer emails as they come in, but really they're head down in the code, so they're not your ideal first line support. Actually get good people in to do first line support. People are proactive, enthusiastic, and incentivize them with a turnaround. So we have on staff our team that do that. We've got technical authors that make great documentation, and we've got great first line and community staff that really lean into those roles. And I'd encourage you to do the same. Incentivize the creation of content. We run a competition every month where we give money away to the best entries for people who write the really interesting apps, documentation guides, whatever they've done. If they make it public, they should send us a link, or they put it in the community. It's enabled for potential money from us. Offload distractor parks and talk to as many of your users as possible. Like, nobody talks to their customers enough, and so that's the last bit of key advice. And then repeat from the stop. Having talked to those customers, what is the redefinition of a success metric? And then just keep going down. Again, defining, updating the documentation to best support that. yada, 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 all the way down. Um, so the other thing I would say about communities is you need a reason for people to come and join. For us, we've got a couple of lead magnets. One is that community I mentioned. The other is we have live feeds of people coming and signing up. Obviously, obscure the name and everything like that, but people like to see, oh, there's a sign up from France, there's a sign up from Germany, there's a sign up from India. People like to see that live sign up feed. It kind of validates their opinion and of the API as well. And it's weirdly kind of mesmerizing to kind of watch all these sort of signups around the world. So that was a big one for us. And really, I think that is enough for today. However, I would say thank you for your time watching the video. I appreciate 20 minutes is a big investment of time. Feel free to get in contact. Always happy to nerd out on APIs and offer any free advice. And like I said, we do run an agency that helps turn around companies that have invested in API. They built it. They expected people to come, and it's crickets. Nobody does come, and so that's our sweet spot of coming in and really helping those companies turn around by applying all the lessons that I talked about today. Thank you for all your time, and I look forward to seeing you at API Days in future.